Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1813. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in a very, very beautiful part of the world, Menorca and the Balearic Islands in the middle of the Mediterranean with a very special guest by the name of Paul Kilvington. Paul, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear? Are you ready to release the clutch?
I'm ready here, fully on the throttle, Mark. So, looking forward to it.
All right. Well, I love it. Well, before I give you a proper introduction, could you share with my listeners one little thing that maybe most people don't know about you?
Well, I guess in my head, I'm still 35. I don't think anybody would believe that.
Are we all?
Driven by new dreams, new aspirations. Yeah, so there's a lot going on at the moment, and I feel this is almost like a second trajectory for me. So I guess that would be my best kept secret, I guess, that nobody would guess.
I think that's why so many men get hurt in their older ages, because we still think that we're half our age and we do some things that maybe we shouldn't. But you've had a very cool life, a life around design, which is my background. I love what you do. So let me give you a proper introduction, and we're going to dive into this new venture that you've added to your repertoire. Paul Kilvington is Head of Bespoke Design at Twisted in North America. Twisted creates all new vehicles born from the timeless Land Rover Defender. Their builds include contemporary technology, luxurious features, exclusive powertrain elements, and numerous other painstakingly created details. Paul's career includes work at design agencies and founding his own agencies, where major projects included branding for Land Rover, Triumph Motorcycles, and a global corporate identity for Massey Ferguson, just to name a very few. A return to focus on pure design brought a number of prestige projects, including interiors, garden, and his passion for classic cars, Aston Martin in particular. Paul splits his time between the beautiful islands that he's in today and the Cotswolds in the UK, in a partnership with a marine business that he's also involved in, included with his twisted role in Twisted North America. I should say twisted role, because the role is far from twisted, but I love the name of the company. In Paul's world of design, form, function, and brands are at the heart of everything. And regular listeners will remember that Tom Maxwell, the CEO of Twisted, was our guest last year in August of 2020. You can find his show on the Cars Yeah website. We'll be back in just a minute to talk with Paul about this new venture with Twisted. But first, a word from our valued sponsors. So give them a listen, and we'll be right back. Are you heading out on the highway for a road trip this summer? I can't wait to hit the road. Covercraft makes quality protection for the inside of your vehicles while you're traveling. Their plush, custom-fit mats or Berber mats turn any ride into something special and are easy to remove and clean after days on the road. Covercraft floor mats are the ultimate protection from moisture, dirt, mud, snow, and slush. Just about anything you can throw at them. Don't forget your vehicle's trunk area too. Their Carhartt custom cargo liners not only look great, but they keep your rear cargo areas and seats protected from the sun and those accidental spills. Custom fit truck liners for sedans, coupes, and SUVs are perfect to protect the factory carpet from all those things that can stain and damage the floors. All your options are quality made, easy to clean, secure to the floor, and look oh so good. Check out covercraft.com for a wide variety of styles, colors, and options for a custom fit. And I've got a special offer for you. If you use the code YEAH21, that's YEAH21 at covercraft.com, they'll give you 10% off your Covercraft order. That's right, 10% off. Simply use the code YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. I was tired of my rates for my collector car insurance going up every year for no explainable reason. My carrier seemed to be turning into a media company versus an insurance company, and I realized that a portion of my policy premium was paying for all those so-called free media goodies. So I did my homework, I talked to knowledgeable collectors, shopped around, and discovered American Collectors Insurance. They've been serving the collector car hobby since 1976. You last that long by properly serving your customers' insurance need, not with a lot of fluff. ACI is ranked the #1 online collector car insurance provider according to Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and they offer their real person guarantee live support. No never-ending phone loops when you need help. Plus, because you don't use your classic car as a daily driver, you could save up to 40% compared to regular auto insurance. American Collectors Insurance provides agreed value policies. So if you experience a total loss to your collector vehicle or it's stolen, you'll be paid the amount listed on your declaration page, less any deductibles, of course. No ifs, ands, or buts. Give them a call today and ask for your free quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Green's at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. All right, Paul, we are back. So let's go a little deeper into the corner here. I want you to share more about, let's start a little bit of your past, because you have such an interesting history in design. You've done so many cool things, and then bring us forward into the today with your role, your new role at Twisted North America.
Yeah, well, my design has always been my passion, really, and back in very early days, I mean, all my education really was geared towards being an architect. But at 18, I didn't quite have the patience to look forward to 8 years studying architecture, and design was a more sort of fast track. So design really has been at the core, and I guess further to that, branding has been at the core of everything that I've always done. As you suggest, I set up my own business when I was actually very young. I was only, I think, 23 or 24, and it fast became a very successful design business. We did some really interesting things. Always loved cars, and I think naturally I've always been very keen to sort of combine my passion for design and branding and automotive into one. And a number of things that I've done have managed to sort of link those two things. But I guess the most recent one with Twisted is probably the absolute perfect role for me. I mean, it's sort of working with clients, working with high net worth clients. It's design, it's branding, it's marketing, it's communications. It's a very special piece of kit. And I think there are also opportunities to do a similar sort of bespoke, sort of tailor-made, realizing dreams sort of job with other manufacturers as well. So I think that, it's a sort of a marriage made in heaven for me, I have to say, and I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it. I've only been with the business for about a month now, but already well underway with some pretty major projects and some really, really interesting projects. And it's great. And the business that you alluded to at the beginning in Menorca, again, I mean, I've always loved boats, loved the sea, loved the marine sort of lifestyle. And with the business there, it's really about combining those things. And we sell and we buy and we look after boats and water toys and everything to do with sort of lifestyle. So I guess design and lifestyle are very much sort of common threads running through everything that I've done for the past 25 or so years. But the great culmination with Twisted in bringing all of those things together. And there are other things that we're looking at as well. I mean, other business interests include a remote battery monitoring system, which is for both automotive and the marine market, which again is an even bigger combination of everything.
Right.
And also another initiative at the moment is a classic vehicle provenance portal called VCV, Verified Classic Vehicles, which is a new benchmark really for the collation and the presentation of the provenance of a classic vehicle, which, as I'm sure you're aware, makes a massive difference both to pride of ownership and also to value. So, busy time, really busy time at the moment.
You have figured out the secret sauce to life, my friend. This is a very interesting life you've led. And I told your colleague when she sent your pictures over, I said, who is this guy? The world's most interesting man? You have such a unique look about you and a style. It's like those commercials for Dos Equis with that guy. I love it. And I love the fact that you've found your passion at a very early age and you created multiple businesses, you sold them off, you started new things. Now at this point in your life, you're starting something new. And I know in your resume I also read involvement with your daughter is also into design. Is that right?
It is. I'm absolutely blessed to actually have Emma looking after the design business in the UK. It's very interesting because the business has sort of evolved. I mean, that design business has now been established for a good length of time, and we've, as well as doing all the projects and many other print websites, we do films, we do all sorts of things in that branding and design consultancy, Kilvington. But more recently, I say more recently, it's now 15 or more years ago, we got involved in a Scepter, which came as a result of looking for a school for Emma. I was looking for an independent school. And through looking at those and looking at the school prospectuses, etc., it soon became apparent that these schools were spending money, but in a very sort of reactive way, not in a proactive way. And they were sort of, I think, wasting money to a certain extent. And I felt there was an opportunity to help those independent schools. And I thought it would be, a good fun sort of thing to do. And Stowe School was actually the first school that we worked with, and we developed a new prospectus. It was all about prospectuses in those days. But actually for Stowe, we developed a new look and a style, a brand. But back then, we weren't able to talk about brand. Certainly independent schools didn't understand brand. I mean, they were a bit reluctant to market. A lot of it was sort of old school tie and literally, oh, no, dear boy, all of our business comes through recommendation and referral. We really don't need to market, terribly vulgar. But actually, things have changed enormously. It's a very competitive market. And that one school very soon grew to 100, I think, within a couple of years. And we've now worked with over 350 independent schools. So,
wow.
So Emma actually went through Cheltenham Ladies College, and then went on to Bristol for the first, as I did, and then decided to become a designer, photographer. Worked in London for a very short time, and then joined me. And it's fantastic for me to work with my daughter. I have to say, I'm very, very fortunate, and she's making a great job of looking after things over there. I speak to her every day. We're in constant touch. I tend to do the strategy and the creative direction. She's a great designer. She's great with clients, and hopefully that design business under her sort of reigns, her guardianship will continue to grow and grow.
That's very cool. You're very fortunate. That's wonderful. Let's go back to Twisted and share more of your interpretation as you're new with this company of what the company's all about for our listeners today that may not have heard of Twisted and what they do, because it's a very unique and niche type market. You're talking about very upscale clients who want very special bespoke vehicles based on the Land Rover platform. So kind of walk us through what Twisted's all about.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, one of the major projects we did in the design business in the UK was to launch Range Rover in North America. And at that point, we had already worked extensively with Land Rover on their branding. So I've always had a huge affinity with Land Rover and Range Rover since those days, and a number, in fact, recently restored a 1962 Series 2A Land. So it's now better than it would have come off the line.
Nice.
So I've always loved them. So really, Twisted takes that iconic, that wonderful Land Rover machine and hones and re-engineers, reimagines and reinvents it, not to take away from the aesthetic and also the practicalities of the vehicle and the overall DNA of the vehicle, but to create the sort of vehicle that I think, had Land Rover not been diverted by, the monocoque Range Rover and other things, and obviously as they move on and grew significantly, the sort of vehicle that I think it could have evolved into under the guardianship of Land Rover. So it's completely re-engineered right from the tyres up, so that it is, yes, iconic, yes, classic, has all of that heritage, has all of those qualities, but also is absolutely a car which is on the button, which will handle and perform and exhilarate like no other vehicle. I mean, I was blown away. I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal to drive. And, with all due respect, you could never really say that about the old Defender. It wasn't built as that sort of car.
Right.
So for me, it's taken all of the best and times 10 of a Range Rover and applied it to that wonderful vehicle in a nutshell. And I think what we're doing really with, as you suggest, these high net worth individuals, celebrities, and the people that are buying the vehicles, is not just providing them with a vehicle any more than we did, interestingly, when we launched Range Rover in North America. It very soon became apparent when we did that people were not buying a vehicle. I mean, of course, it would be a third or fourth or fifth vehicle, but actually they were buying their perception of an English country lifestyle. So we employed Patrick Litchfield, the late Lord Litchfield, to do the photography. So we actually then sold them that English country lifestyle, and we had lots of salmon fishing on the Tay and lots of sort of stereotypical sort of British sort of elements in there. And in a slightly different way, we're doing exactly the same thing with Twisted, insofar as we're helping those clients realize their dreams, their aspirations, for them to have an absolutely bespoke and tailor-made vehicle, which is very particular to them. So I work with them to really identify from sometimes a very tight brief, but in many, many instances, just a sort of a wish, a love. I talk to the clients about how do you want to use the vehicle? What do you want it to provide? What's your lifestyle?
Yeah.
And we try and create a vehicle which is going to be absolutely pertinent to all of those things. And also something which is very, very special. I mean, I've worked on two now where, coincidentally, a client's lucky number is 42. Another client, their number was 24. Who could have imagined that? So in completely different ways, we're interpreting those numbers within the vehicle. We're adding a lot of their personality. So I'm really helping them sort of realize and specify a vehicle, which perhaps, is at the back of their head. So I'm bringing it to the fore and helping to create that very special car for them. That's really what Bespoke is all about, and Twisted in a nutshell.
I was going to say, isn't this interesting? Because you mentioned originally your focus was architecture. My father was an architect, and you talk about briefs. When you sit down, he designed a lot of homes for people. And now you're doing this for cars. So in a way, you're an automotive architect, creating a lifestyle for people within their vehicles. And of course, very much Land Rover is a lifestyle vehicle, just like other high-end cars would be. But you're taking it to a whole nother level and a personality for people. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And your history with the brand can bring all that forward now into a much more tight-knit brief, as you say.
I think that's a very, very perceptive comment, Mark. And I'd very much like your automotive architect. I think that sums it up perfectly into alliterative words. I think that's very clever. Yes, I might have that one.
Yeah. Put that on your. You can have that. You can put it on your business card as a title. Of what you do. I think it's wonderful. All great people typically have a driving inspiration, a mentor in their life, somebody who was influential in helping them along. Is there somebody like that in your past?
There is, Mark, and I have to say, this might sound obvious, I don't know, or maybe even cliched, but it was absolutely my grandfather. And my grandfather was a brilliant man in terms of what he was able to do. He's a real craftsman, he's master plumber, electrician, and he was absolutely fantastic at making things, and not only making things, but at designing and creating things. I remember he made me a garage, but it wasn't just any old garage. It was brilliant design. He made it out of plywood and hardboard. Not a lot of money, so everything was done sort of on a shoestring and buy and bend and recycle. He was recycling all those years ago.
Yeah.
And he created this very clever ramp. He just cut slots down either side and bent that down and put that underneath a piece of sort of quarter timber. And, the design of this thing, it just looked beautiful. I absolutely loved it. But it was design that was very functional, again, architectural. And he built, for my sister, he built a doll's house, and the chimney supported the roof, and the roof was sort of designed in such a way that you could actually take it off and sort of get involved in very, very clever, very functional design. My graphic design has always been very strategic. It's been design with a particular purpose. And, and very, I think design for me, yes, it needs to be aesthetically beautiful, if appropriate, or functionally beautiful. But also, I think what it needs to do is it needs to be effective. It needs to do a job. And I think the sort of things that we're doing with Twister, and I've always done really on all my, whether they're gardens or whether they're interiors or whatever, is that I think the look and the style comes out of, it has an authenticity, it has an integrity, and it comes out of a functionality. I know a lot of big words there, but that I think is so important. So instead of adorning something, what we're doing is we're enhancing something, and we're really trying to sort of get a message across. I would be much more inclined, rather than putting stripes and decals in a vehicle, to actually do something which inherently really communicated a particular strength or a particular piece of engineering in that vehicle.
Yes.
And again, that's very much part of what we're doing at Twisted. It's all about the engineering. It's all about the functionality. And my design is not meant to sort of tart that up. It's meant to really project that and underpin it and enhance it. And I think that's very important. And that's absolutely through his functionality, through his integrity and his people skills and his craftsmanship. I think there's an enormous debt that I pay to my grandfather. And I miss him a lot.
Yeah, how fortunate you were to have him in your life. That is absolutely splendid. I love it. Now, if somebody was going to go into the design world, automotive world, how would you advise them as they venture into this as a career?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I mean, I've had a few sort of philosophies, it's not all been plain sailing. I've been fortunate enough to establish and run some very successful businesses. But had tough times and had a couple of failures. I think when you're young and keen and building turnover and building your empire, I think you sort of diversify into things that perhaps you regret afterward. I mean, I don't really have regrets, and I think you can actually learn from those failures, and I certainly did. Would I do them again? No, I wouldn't. But I know how to avoid them now.
Yes.
But I think for me, it's consistently sticking to your principles, really. The sort of projects and the sort of work that I've always done have always been sort of premium projects. And I think back in the day, I know that we've had this sort of almost premium price. But I think for me, you pay for what you get. And I think if you're, I don't cut corners. I think I'm far happier working with things that have value, not necessarily luxury. I think things that have value, things that have quality and premium things. And I think you sort of set your pitch. And I think it's good to stick by that. And I think, you can be just, if not even more successful with a pound shop and piling high, selling cheap. And that's a completely different principle. But I don't think you can honestly be both. I think you're either one or the other. So I think for me, it's sticking to that focus. So however much you diversify, however many different things you become involved with, those same core values actually run through everything. And so keep to those and look at ways of actually using those. I think look after cash is an important thing in terms of business.
No doubt.
I think cash is king. It's a real truism, but I think that's important. But also just important, look after people. A business is its people. It isn't, I'm a brand man, but it isn't just brand. The brand comes from individuals. It comes from people. Look after people, I think, is important. Keep focused. We have an expression in England, which may not mean much to you, I don't know, but stick to your knitting.
Yes.
What that really means is stick to what you're best at. Stick to what you know. Don't pretend that you know everything. Don't pretend that you can do everything. But do what you do really, really well. And, I think if some of those things, I think if you sort of take those and stick by those, I think you won't go far wrong, really.
Absolutely. Set your pitch and stick to your knitting. Some golden nuggets you're dropping on us today. I love it. Well, you made a nice segue to my next question about challenges. But before that, we're going to take a short break and thank our sponsors. We come back, the challenge question. So sit tight. What began as a charitable car show has grown into the world's greatest collector car auctions, raising over $133 million for charitable organizations to date. For nearly 50 years, automotive enthusiasts from all over the world have enjoyed the Barrett-Jackson collector car auctions, and I'm a huge fan. Regarded as the barometer of the collector car industry, their auctions are world-class lifestyle events where thousands of the world's most sought-after, unique, and valuable automobiles cross the block in front of a global audience, in person, on TV, or streamed online. Barrett-Jackson produces the world's greatest collector car auctions in Scottsdale, Arizona, Palm Beach, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, and new for 2021, Houston, Texas. The excitement of Barrett-Jackson auctions is contagious, and a unique experience is not to be missed. And coming soon, something new for you Cars Yeah listeners. I'll be teaming up with Craig Jackson on the first ever Barrett-Jackson podcast, coming to your mobile devices every week. Listen here on Cars Yeah and check out the Barrett-Jackson website for unique details on this new, exciting podcast that I'm very proud to be a part of. And be sure to visit barrettjackson.com today. Barrett-Jackson, the world's greatest collector car auctions. I've discovered Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented Linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. Join Linkage. Be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you get your subscription, and they'll give you $10 off. Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. So, Paul, you referred to making mistakes, having challenges, obstacles, failures, perhaps even, but learning from them, that they're okay. They're things that teach us, as long as we don't just keep repeating them, of course. So walk through a big one that you had to deal with and tell us what that lesson learned was and how it helped you gain even more momentum as you move forward in your career, your business, or your life.
Yeah, I think, again, going back, we were a pretty focused design consultancy, design agency, doing our print and, doing some sort of corporate identity, etc. And it's always tempting. We became a triumvirate of three within a group. So I set up this group, distanced myself really from the main business, which I think, again, is a difficult thing. I think as a principle of design business, in the same way perhaps as a lawyer or an architect or an accountant. And I think it's, if your clients are buying you to a great extent, and yes, you need to train people and instill your values in other people. But I think the minute you start to divorce yourself too soon from the business, I think that can become very difficult. So that was one mistake. But yeah, and that triumvirate, one was, and actually we started called the Business Development Bureau. And this is going way back. So it predates sort of, business management sort of services, if you like, and things. And that was a partnership with an individual. And then I had another, which was a sort of a sales promotion agency, which also led to, and you'll wince at this one, Mark, I think, a model agency.
Oh.
I was very young.
Yeah.
I was very young.
I've got to deal with that before.
So those things, they sort of made sense, and it was sort of pushing the design through marketing, through sales promotion, through modeling. But it was 2 or 3 steps too far. One I sold out of, and it was reasonably lucrative. It didn't last long. The model agency sort of died a death, as it probably was always doomed to do. It was fun at the time.
Sure.
And the business development agency, the partner disappeared, and he wasn't all he purported to be. So what have I learned from that? Well, I've learned the core, to stick to the core really, and to also be involved. I was at my happy. We became a sort of, I think, up to about 30 odd people in the end. In a big building. This was pre sort of internet and pre sort of new methods of working. Well, not new, but I mean appropriate and relevant methods of working nowadays. And I spend a lot of my time organizing them and their issues and this huge infrastructure of a business. I remember, this is 20 odd years ago, we needed 80 grand a month just to pay the overheads. You don't need many not very good months, particularly when you're not on retainers, which you weren't. It was all project based at the time. You don't need many bad months to sort of have a big hole to crawl out of.
Right.
It can be tough. But I was certainly at my happiest really when we were about 12 strong. I mean, that's a great size for a design team.
Yep.
However it might be, that was, I think that's good. So, yes, you're right. I mean, you do learn those lessons. And certainly, I think I was fortunate to make all my mistakes when I was right at the very beginning because I set up so young. I'd sort of got most of all that out of my
out of your system,
my system at 30 or something. So I'm not saying I haven't made mistakes since. Of course I have, but nothing as fundamental as some of those things.
Yeah, brilliant. I appreciate you sharing that. You seem to be, to me, a guy with a bucket list that is always progressing forward. This new venture, along with everything else you're doing with Twisted, is a good example of that. Is there another big accomplishment out there you're looking forward to in your life that is lingering out on the horizon since you're on an island looking out at a vast body of water?
Yeah, lovely image that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Beautiful place you're in.
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, it was tangible material things. I mean, it was, I wanted both, and all of these things really are a combination of great engineering, great styling, fantastic functionality, and fantastic design. And those three things were an Aston Martin, probably, if I'm being totally honest, the James Bond DB5.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The Reaver boat, and a World War II Spitfire.
Oh, gee, some high, lofty things to park in the hangar in the garage and on the dock. Wow.
Well, I've been fortunate. There's only one of those I haven't achieved, and I'll leave you and your listeners to actually guess which one that might be. But I ain't given up yet. I'm not giving away on that one. But no, actually, it's less material things now. I mean, it's now for me to have more time. It sounds as if I'm retiring. I'm certainly not. I'm going the opposite way. But more time with the family, security, quality of life, those sort of real sort of peace of mind, sort of mindfulness sort of things, I guess. But in order to achieve that, and something that really drives me is, I'd love to see Twisted now become a real major force. I think all the ingredients are there. I think it's fundamentally a fantastic, iconic car. I think the sort of things that we're doing with them are very special. We're now looking at the electric vehicles as well, and there's something really exciting there as things are moving forward. And I think then looking forward to that, I think, a force to be reckoned with in terms of a design team, a bit like the old Italian design houses, sort of Pininfarina, sort of Zagato. Well, maybe a British design house doing some great British design and architecture for cars, for boats, and for other things, look at Philip Starr, look at some of the wonderful designs he's been doing, from hotels through to furniture, through to all sorts of things. So I think that, I think personally for me, I'd love to do that. I think broadening my design, I suppose I was going to say frustrated architect. I don't feel like a frustrated architect. It was out of choice, but certainly I think to leave a mark and to achieve something and to be remembered for great design, great functional design, and across a whole gambit of things, not just print and not just branding, even not just anything, just a limitless, really open-ended design, but the right sort of design.
It paints a wonderful picture of your life. And you touched on something that I was just discussing with a friend yesterday that COVID has brought about, at least for he and I, we were talking about, because he and I are about the same age. I think you and I are somewhat of the same age group. And that this pandemic we've been through has changed people's perspective in many ways, or enlightened us to focus more on what is truly important. And you touched on it. Less material things, more people and family things. And I guess that, as I said to him this, he said, well, that just comes with age and wisdom that you gain over life. But this pandemic has accelerated that, I think. And if there's a positiveness that's come out of it, and there have been some, that's one of them, in my mind, and you touched on it right there very eloquently, that people and family and experiences far exceed the material things that we acquire. And I wanted to segment it into a couple cars that you have, a truly special vehicle in your life. You and I share a passion for Porsche. I understand you have a 69 Targa, which is very cool, the old long hoods, of course, and a couple other cars. So is there one specific car that's really special to you in your life?
Yes, let me talk about that. But just to pick up, just first of all, on your point, I think you're absolutely right in terms of COVID. The other thing I would say is, yes, it does come with age, but actually I think the younger generation have got a far better perspective than we've ever had in terms of quality of life and lifestyle.
Yes.
They're much more inclined to sort of have the lifestyle to rent things rather than purchase them. And they're not looking as much as we were to sort of acquire all of these things around them. They don't want all the clutter. I think they want to have the lifestyle. I think they're also very environmentally aware and very sustainable. So, no, I think you're right, and I think a lot of the youngsters that have been through this really, really difficult time will come out the other end. I think there's some really exciting times ahead with regards to that.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I see that in my own children. Even my son, talking with him a couple months ago, he was saying, Dad, your generation was all about picket fences, the house, staying with a company for a long time, acquiring all these things. We're not into that. We're into experiences. We want to get out and see things and not be tied to these anchors that these material things tie us to, that latch us to. So I agree 100%. I think it's great. But this is cars, and I still want to talk about cars because we love cars, and I love cars too. I too have downsized. I used to have a lot more cars in my garage. I've just pared it down to one special ride that I love, a toy car, and then another. So what's one vehicle that's been really special for you in your life?
Well, you talked about a toy car. My first serious car was a model that my grandmother bought me one Christmas, and that was the James Bond DB5.
Yes.
And that really resonated. What a model that was! My goodness, so much functionality in that, and that ignited my passion for Astons. And my first one, when the business started to go again, I think I was pre-30 or something. I bought a DB6, which was the most affordable one at the time, the classic Aston, and it was silver birch. It had the red leather, so it's a bit like the model, but it was an automatic because it was cheaper, and that was what I could afford. Couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding. I had a chappy modify it and gave me a better kick down. But since then, I've had a number of. I've been very lucky. I've worked hard. I've made my own luck, but I've had a couple of 5s, a couple of 4s, had a DB Mark III, and as a mark, as a brand, I absolutely love them. Had some more recent Astons as well. But you're right, a Porsche, I sort of went away from Porsche to Aston for all of those reasons. But actually, when I was building my business, again, because it grew so quickly and was successful so quickly, fortunately, I did run 911s in the day. And I remember having a big sort of turbo-bodied cabriolet. Again, this was sort of late 80s, so we got away with it. It wasn't guards red, it was black with linen interior. But yeah, it's quite a beast. And then since I had one of the first Carrera 4 cabriolets in the country in the UK, which was a lovely, lovely car. I subsequently bought one. I now sort of have a small collection of classic cars. So, but yeah, my favourite is the one that I currently own, which is a California car actually, left-hand drive. It's over here in Menorca, absolutely unmolested, unrestored. Very, very original. It's actually just having a new clutch at the moment and just having some very, very light work done to it. But, even some of the paintwork has got that sort of almost slightly crazed Ming bar sort of feel, like patina, I'm very much into. I think this is an age thing. I'm much more into now. When I look back at my DB5s, they were literally out of the box. They were immaculate, they were restored, they were fantastic. But I was a lot happier with a bit more rough and ready DB Mark III. I really, really loved that car. It was a great car, and it had its dings, it had its patina, but it was a very original, and I feel that about the Porsche. I think it was terrific. Land Rovers, Land Rovers and Range Rovers had a few, and I had a Land Rover for about 25 years.
Wow!
And that was very much part of the family. Emma, my daughter, we used to hitch the trailer and go into the fields and collect the hay bales, and I used to collect classic koi carp. And I remember going to the Koi Kart farm, and Emma was in the back sort of trying to stop these things. I was trying to take it steady, which is very difficult in an old series.
Yes.
Jumping all over, so there was fish and water everywhere. But no, I had great memories of Emma. It was very much part of her childhood.
Wonderful.
But I was tempted to sell it. Every time I took it to fill up, there's always somebody admiring it. So it was very original. It was a 71, I think, tilt top, bronze green, and it just felt right. One of those cars that just feels and smells right.
Yes.
Anyway, I took the bait. I think I was looking to invest in something else at the time, and this guy offered me a lot of money, and I took it. I actually sold him that. And when he picked it up, he saw I had a Conran desk in a locker where this car was, and he bought the Conran desk as well. So I was feeling a bit raw really when he disappeared afterwards.
Yeah,
with the desk I'd had for a few years, and also the Land. Regretted it the day after, as we do. I've never regretted buying a car in my life or anything. Always regretted selling them.
Yeah.
What I did as part of that deal is I took a wreck of an old 62. Which I then have spent a lot of time and effort and money sort of, creating a wonderful vehicle and getting it absolutely exactly as it should be. So, and now that's my sort of winter car in the UK. Galvanized chassis. I'm just driving it through salted roads, which we have over there, which are
they eat cars
for cars, but not too precious. I mean, yes, it's immaculate, but I'm driving it to enjoy it. It's almost like a time warp, going back in time to 1962 and having a brand new vehicle, and just driving it as it would have been in the day and enjoying it, and let it sort of develop its own patina. So that's definitely one I'll be passing on to Emma.
More wisdom that comes with age, I think, when it comes to cars and what they mean to us and how we use them. I'm going to crawl into your head a little bit here, Paul. Be your psychiatrist today. If you were manifest as a vehicle, yes, here we go. If you were manifest as a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive your personality in a vehicle, what would you be, but more importantly, why?
Oof. Well, this is going to sound as if this is a party line. I'm being very, very corporate, but I'm not. I'm being very, very honest. It would be a Range Rover. It would be a Range Rover. And this goes right back to knowing and loving them, to launching them, as I say, in North America and really getting to grips with them. But for me, it's a go anywhere, do everything sort of vehicle.
Yep.
It's classic. It's not flash. I hate flash. I just do not like bling and all of that. So, and I think, and I guess I'm talking classic Range Rover here. I'd be a Range Rover Classic. I wouldn't be the later. I've had the later vehicles, and I'm certainly not knocking them. They're wonderful pieces of kit, but I go back to those. And I actually did buy one over here. I used to have a CSK back in the day, which was the car that Charles Spencer King designed in 1990. It was the epitome of Range Rover for him, with the anti-sway bars and 3.9 engine, etc. And I've got that vehicle, but it's white. It's sort of my island interpretation of the CSK. So that goes on forever. Just as happy in the country or in the city, combining old and new. I think it would, for all of those reasons, it would have to be the Range Rover, I think, and. That's perhaps something we at Twisted should be looking at, doing a Twisted Range Rover. My goodness, there's an opportunity. That would
be very interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, that's the vehicle that kind of started it over here for high-end SUVs, if you would call them, for people that wanted something special in that lifestyle technique. So, everybody aspired to have a Range Rover in the CSK and that classicness of it. And, of course, you're a Brit, so that all makes sense to me. Nicely done. I always ask my guests about a book that they've read that they'd like to share, that they gleaned a lot of information from. Is there a book in your life, maybe in the last year or so, that you'd like to share?
Sadly, I've got little time for reading for pleasure nowadays.
I understand.
Mainly sort of trade things and stuff like that. But I recently really enjoyed Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister's book on Churchill. Churchill has always, I've always admired Churchill. And I think above all else, despite his failings, his very obvious failings and very obvious mistakes, I think he really did stick to his principles. He never, ever gave up. And that was a big motto of his, never give up.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And showed great sort of fortitude and stoicism and resilience, I guess. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that because I admire the man and I think some of his values. So yeah, I think that would probably be a favourite. He also drove a very, very nice Series 1 Land Rover as well. So.
Yes. That book's titled The Churchill Factor. So, yeah, that's the first time that's been mentioned, too. So I think that's great. I'll put that on Paul's show notes page so you can find a link to that. We're going to take one more very short break. We come back. We're going to go on the ultimate drive here with Paul. So sit tight. We'll be right back. Here at Cars Yeah, it's all about inspiration. And our charity of choice is TechForce Foundation, where it's all about making a positive difference in young people's lives. TechForce helps young adults discover their talents and passions for all things automotive, with a mission of helping students develop a career as a professional technician. TechForce awards nearly $2 million in scholarships every year for students to pursue technical education, and they support hands-on activities, events, and mentorships across the country, working to change the outdated perceptions of these careers. Auto techs are in high demand, but the supply of qualified technicians is critically short. They need your help to fuel their mission. Learn more and join me in supporting them at techforce.org. All right, we are back, and I have a magic scepter, Paul, which allows my guests to do magical things. For you today, that's picking a very special vehicle, someone that you'd like to be riding with, either as a passenger or you can drive. This person can be living or deceased. So what's your ultimate drive all about?
Well, yeah, you say deceased. Yeah, relatively, we were very recently deceased. I think it would be Sterling Moss. I think my partner would be Sterling Moss for all sorts of reasons. Absolute gentleman. And I think there'd be some wonderful anecdotes, and clearly an absolute racing legend. So I'm sure I'd be in the hot seat to pick up some really good tips, and he would be telling me in no uncertain terms that I shouldn't be doing this and shouldn't be doing that. But no, I think he'd be immense fun to be with and very valuable. And what would it be in? Probably an Aston Martin. Probably an Aston Martin. DB4 GT. That's a car I've had a four. Had a Series 1 and a Series 2 DB4. Beautiful, beautiful car. Much better than the 5 for me, and certainly a lot better than the 6. So I think that, shorter wheelbase, lighter, and the GT, the perfection of that. Zagato, very nice.
Yes.
That, but I think the purity of that DB4 GT. So I think Sterling and that just seemed to me to go hand in driver's glove.
I love it. Nice way you put that. So would he be at the wheel, or would you be jumping back and forth in the driver's seat?
Oh, I think we'd do a swap, a bit of a Le Mans swap.
Oh,
I think probably Sterling first, and then I can put some of the tips into practice. So, I think we'd do a swap.
I had him lined up to be a guest here. His health was declining, and Lady Susie kept having to cancel because he wasn't doing well. And sadly, he passed before I was able to get him on this show. I was able to talk to him several times. I actually got to sit next to him at Pebble Beach Concours one year in the judge's booth, just chatting for a little bit. And, what do you say when you sit next to Sterling Moss?
Wow.
What do you ask? Yeah, he and Jackie Stewart were there. The late Denise McCluggage, who has been a guest on the show, and it was truly a couple magical moments there to get to talk with them. But that sounds like a very nice ultimate drive for sure. Paul, you've made this very fun for me today, and I can't thank you enough for calling in and sharing some of your time with us. Before I let you go, is there maybe a parting piece of wisdom or guidance, a success quote perhaps you might offer our listeners?
Well, just three things spring to mind that have been my sort of mantra, if you like. Follow your passion. I think if you're fortunate enough to be able to follow your passion, and make a success out of that, and have a good quality of life as a result of that, then you're very, very fortunate. So I think that's certainly one. Never give in. I guess going back to the Churchillian thing. I think that keep going. Never give in. I think that's very important. And most importantly, probably enjoy every minute. Life is for enjoying. If you're not enjoying it, then don't do it. If you can afford not to, I think is the key. So yeah, those three things I think would be what I would certainly what I say with the schools that we work with. It's certainly the sort of things that I'm saying to the sixth formers when they want to sort of have some tips, and I think if they take those on board, they won't go hopefully too far wrong.
Brilliant. Yes, brilliant. What are some of the ways that people can keep up with you and Twisted?
My website, my design sort of website is www.kilvington.com. The marine website here, if anybody fancies a trip to Menorca or chartering a boat or whatever, is
sounds wonderful.
www.clearwater.es, clearwater one word .es, and of course twistedautomotive.com is our Twisted website. But very happy if people want to contact me through email or LinkedIn. My email is simply paulkilvington@me.com, or my LinkedIn tag. Do you call it tag mark or whatever? My address,
LinkedIn. Yeah, just your LinkedIn.
My LinkedIn is Paul-Kilvington. Paul-Kilvington.
Awesome. I'll make sure I put links to all these on Paul's show notes page, so you can go to the Cars Yeah website and find them and follow along. If you're not familiar with Twisted, check it out, because what they're building there will blow you away. They're just so cool. And you can go back if you missed my talk with the CEO of Twisted, Tom Maxwell. That show, number 1618 last year, is still up, as with all past 1,813 inspiring automotive enthusiasts on the Cars Yeah website. Paul, hey, thank you for being so generous today with your time and expertise, and for sharing some of your life with us. This has been absolutely wonderful in a beautiful part of the world. Oh my gosh, you have dialed in life for sure. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Mark. I've enjoyed the ride.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.